of the semester, the next to last lab. This lab is all about the muscles and movements of the upper limb. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start with movements of the scapula, then we're going to do movements of the humerus, then work our way down the arm, forearm, wrist, etc. So we got a lot to do. Check out the scapulae sitting on those ribs right there. You can totally see those two scapulae resting on those ribs. They glide along the ribs. And there's 4 different motions that they're going to do. Motion number 1 is where the scapulae go upward. That is called elevation. Shrug your shoulders up for me, like you're saying, I don't know. That's elevating your scapulae. Movement number 2. Movement number 2 is where your scapulae are going to go down. So if you're sitting normally, just sit regular, and then drop your shoulders. Like you feel them drop maybe an inch or more. That's depression of the scapulae. All right, number 3, adduction, also known as retraction. Try and like squeeze the middle of your back together, like pull your shoulders back and try and squeeze the middle of your back. That's adduction. So you're moving your scapulae. Look how they're going towards one another there. That's why it's adduction. You're adding them to that midline of the body. And then last but not least, we're going to spread our scapula. It's called abduction or protraction. Kind of pull your shoulders forward. Feel your upper back rounding as your scapulae try and spread apart. So you want to just draw those shoulders forward and feel that stretch in your upper back. Okay, these are our 4 basic motions, our 4 basic movements. Now, one of the things to realize is the muscle is going to be where the movement is. The muscle is where the movement is. Say that one time. The muscle is where the movement is. So, if you're going to elevate your scapulae, it's going to make sense. The muscle that pulls the scapulae up is going to be above the scapulae. The muscle that pulls the scapula down is going to be below. Muscle that pulls it in is going to be on the inside, out on the outside. This is a beautiful thing. It works all the time. All right, let's introduce ourselves to our muscles that are moving our scapulae. Starting with this beauty right here. This guy right here, number 1. Number 1 on the screen, number 1 in my heart, is the pectoralis minor. The pectoralis minor. It is called pectoralis because it is in the pectoral region, the chest. It is minor because it's a small muscle. It's actually deep to this big guy right here. So they've taken this big muscle, this is the Pec Major. They've taken it off on this side so we can see that Pec Minor under there. The Pec Minor generally starts on ribs 3 through 5. Not always, but generally on ribs 3 through 5. And it comes up and it grabs onto the coracoid of the scapula. We can't see that here, but we got to know that's the insertion. So origin, ribs 3 to 5. Insertion, coracoid of the scapula. And this muscle is going to protract the scapula, so it's going to abduct. So if you're using your Pec Minor, you are going to feel your shoulders come forward, and you're going to round that upper back. All right, now in this same model, if you look over here, these guys, right here, here, the guy with the 2, the guy above them, all of those guys are part of a muscle called the serratus anterior. It is another protractor of the scapula. So these 2 muscles, what are they? They are synergists. Remember we learned that word a while ago. A pair of synergists are muscles that work together to cause the same action. All right, so Pec Minor right there, deep to the Pec Major, Serratus anterior, a little bit more lateral and posterior right there. It's actually not hidden behind the Pec Major, so we'll be able to see it in all sorts of different views. Okay, awesome. Let's switch models here, and let's look at another one. So if we look at another model here, we don't see the Pec Minor in this model, because right there, that is the Pec Major. And the Pec Major is the superficial one. It's larger. It covers the Pec Minor. But we do see the serratus anterior. I see it boom, boom, boom. 3 spots right there. And you can see how they kind of have this point to them. And that point to them is what gives them their name. Serratus means like a saw. Means like a saw. So if you think about a saw blade, a knife blade, and you got those teeth like that, somebody thought that this muscle resembled that. There is a serratus posterior. That's why we don't just say serratus, we say serratus anterior. Now we can also see it on this dude right here. We can see that same muscle just sitting right there. See it on both sides. All right. And that muscle, remember, is going to be a partner, a synergist of the pectoralis minor, and it is going to protract or abduct the scapula. All right, so let's get rid of all that, and let's keep on going. We got 2 muscles down. We got 1 movement down. We did that protraction, right? We did that abduction. We're now going to look at a big muscle, which is going to do the other 3 motions. This makes life easy. Outlined in pink here is this big muscle called the trapezius. It is a big muscle. You can see it in this guy right here as well. Big diamond-shaped muscle right there. That's the trapezius. And it has a lot of fibers to it. It has fibers that are superior to the scapula. Those superior ones, they are going to elevate the scapula. The middle fibers right here, you can see by the direction of them, they're going to pull the scapula inward. So that's going to adduct or retract it. Then these lower fibers, again, you can see the angle, the direction here. They're going to pull the scapula down. In other words, they are going to depress it. So big, nice scapula right here. You can see it nicely on the model too. And I love it. One muscle does all 3 of those things. Just make sure you know the difference between the fibers. If we look here, we can see the trapezius from the front. You can also see it on the human person over here. And some really muscular people, you can really see it quite well. Now we can't see it too well on that guy. It's tucked back there. We might see it better on another person later on. And awesome, we are done with the scapula. We are now going to do some movements at the shoulder joint. Remember, the shoulder joint, it's the glenohumeral joint because it's the joint between the glenoid fossa and the head of the humerus. It's a ball and socket joint. What's great about a ball and socket joint? They give you a lot of mobility. It's a multi-axial joint. It's going to move in all 3 planes. We're going to look at a total of 6 movements. All right? 2 of them are pictured here, flexion and extension. Flexion is where your arm goes straight forward. All right, so hang your arm by your side and bring your arm straight forward, and you can stop it right in the middle. Like if you get into a zombie pose where your arms are sitting straight out, that means you just flexed your shoulder joint, okay? If you come back down from a zombie pose, you guys know what I mean by a zombie pose? So this is a zombie pose right here. There's some feet. Oh, there's the zombie where your arms are like straight out like that. So that is a flex position. And then if you come back down to normal, good old anatomical position, that's extended. And you can even keep on going backwards, like as this dude is doing right here. His arm is going backwards. It's extending even more. All right, where do you think the flexor muscles are going to be? Well, the motion is to the front, right? So the flexor muscles are going to be in the front, whereas the extensor muscles are going to be in the back. Remember, the muscle is where the motion is. All right. Here are another pair of motions. We actually got two pair here. Right here we got abduction. Think about taking your arm away from your body to the side like you're making a snow angel, right? So you're lying down in the snow, you're making a snow angel, you're doing abduction as your arm comes away from your body, and adduction is you bring it back in. So if somebody is lying down in the snow, there they are, they're happy, they're in the snow. Dun, 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 there they are. Look at them enjoying the snow. And if when their arm goes out this way, that's abduction. And when it comes back in, as you make the snow angel, that's adduction. Okay? Now we can also rotate your humerus. Think about just, palm forward, palm backwards, palm forward, palm backwards. Like get in anatomical position, palm is forward, spin it so it's backwards, spin it so it's forward. That is rotation at the humerus. And you can spin laterally or spin medially. So, these are our other four motions. Let's look at some muscles. We are starting with a major muscle of the shoulder, this beautiful upside down triangle muscle right here, known as the deltoid. So in Greek, the letter delta looks like a triangle. Looks just like that. And someone said, hey, this muscle is kind of triangular-ish. Let's call it the deltoid. Originates on the lateral clavicle plus the acromion and the spine of the scap. Going to come and insert. We don't see the insertion point, but it's in there. Inserts on that deltoid tuberosity of the humerus, which I know you remember. Now, the anterior fibers are in the front, so they're going to cause flexion. Remember, flexion is when your arm goes forward. You get in that zombie pose. The middle fibers cause abduction. So if you use those middle fibers, here's you're standing right there. If you use those middle fibers, your arms are straight out like that. And of course, you're happy because you're doing anatomy and physiology. The posterior fibers, they're in the back. So they're going to do extension. So coming back from the zombie pose. Remember, when you get into zombie pose, so here's you in zombie pose, this is a side view of you, okay? Side view. When you're in zombie pose, happy zombie, it was your anterior muscles that got you there because you brought your arm forward. And then when you use the posterior muscles, the guys in the back here, that is going to be extension. You're going to take that arm back like that. Okay? All right. Let's keep on moving. Got another model here. This is the posterior view of the deltoid. So I know it's posterior because I see all these scapular muscles back here. I see my tricep right there. Here is the lateral view. Whoopsie. See the lateral view of it right there? See those middle fibers beautifully right there. There's my biceps muscle in the front, triceps in the back. We'll meet those later. Anterior view, I see all the blood vessels and nerves here. And there's that anterior deltoid right there. Remember, that's the flexing part. All right. If we look at this muscular lady, we see her nice deltoid right there. Awesome trapezius as well, really bulging out there. Very nice. Now, another important muscle we got to learn is one we met earlier, which is the pec major. Look at this Pec Major right here. Lovely Pec Major. Sits deep to the mammary glands in females. Pec Major is superficial to the Pec Minor. Remember, Pec Minor was under it, so we can totally see it here. We can see it on this muscular gentleman as well. There is his Pec Major right there and right there. There's his trapezius from the front. His deltoid is right there. Trapezius is right there. Now, big movement of the Pec Major is flexion. So flexion of the arm, flexion of that shoulder. Also adduction. So if you are to get into your zombie pose, or remember that's a side view of you, you're in your zombie pose right there, you use your anterior deltoid and your Pec Major to get you there. So if you put both arms in your zombie mode and you squeeze your arms together, squeeze your hands together, you might feel that in your pectoral muscles. That is adduction. So flexion and adduction. If you are doing a bench press, if you're doing a push-up, you are generally going to be doing a combination of flexion and adduction of the shoulder, which is why these two exercises are excellent for your Pec Major. All right. Magnificent. We saw this model earlier. There's that Pec Major right there. There it is. Take that Pec Major off. We see the Pec Minor underneath. Okay. Pec Major is a flexor and adductor. All right. It's in the front, so it makes sense that it's a flexor. Flexors are generally in the front, and the movement was to the front. It's to the inside of the shoulder, so it makes sense that it is an adductor, because in adduction you're moving your arms to the inside, so things are making sense. All right, now we're going to switch to another muscle, one in the back. This guy right down here. This guy right here is the Latissimus Dorsi. We see it on both sides, bilateral. It is a wide muscle. Latissimus means widest, and dorsi means dorsal on the back, right? We see it on the human right here as well. There it is. Now, this muscle is in the back, so it's going to pull your humerus back. Remember, pulling your humerus back is how you get out of zombie position. So there's you as a zombie. And if you take your arm back that way, you're going to be using your Latissimus Dorsi. It is also involved in adduction. So check this out. The lat, the Latissimus Dorsi, and the Pec Major, when you are flexing, so if you're flexing and extending, so if you're doing flexion extension of your humerus, the lat and the Pec Major, they're going to be antagonists. So when you're doing flexion extension, they're antagonists. But when you're doing adduction, those same two muscles are synergists. So that's kind of neat. That they can either work together or oppose one another, depending on the direction we're moving. All right. Latissimus dorsi, look at it in the back. Find that beautiful trapezius right there. Go to the bottom of the diamond on both sides. Boom, boom. There you got it. Okay? That's how you do it. This muscle is going to extend, so pulling that arm back down, and adduct. So imagine squeezing your arms into your body. Now, if you're getting fired up to go to the gym, that's fantastic. That's incredible. You should definitely go. And if you want to work your latissimus dorsi, you're going to be wanting to do motions like chin-up type motions, or if you can't do chin-ups, you can do pull-downs with the machine, or rowing type motions. joints. Okay? Chin-up motions, rowing motions are going to work your latissimus dorsi. All right. You guys are doing fantastic out there, which is cool. If we look at this model, we can see that latissimus dorsi hanging out right over here. Let me switch colors there. There we go. We can also see it on my friend right here. Right there, right there. Good wing-like latissimus dorsi on this dude. Pec Major sitting there and sitting there. We'll meet some of these other muscles soon enough. And we already mentioned the serratus anterior, the external oblique, the rectus abdominis, for a little review. Okay, magnificent. We got another group of muscles that are so important for the shoulder, especially as you get older. These muscles often start to have problems. They're known collectively as the rotator cuff, and I don't know why I can't use my mouse. Got to get my drawing tool going. The rotator cuff. They are a set of 4 muscles, a group of 4. They stabilize the shoulder joint, the glenohumeral joint. Because remember, if it's a ball and socket joint, it's really mobile. And if you're really mobile, you're not that stable. So these muscles are going to stabilize it. They have a great mnemonic device. The rotator cuff sits on the shoulder. It sits on the shoulder. And I'm just going to modify what I wrote here. I like to make it a lowercase right there. It sits on the shoulder. The first one we're going to do is the subscapularis. We do it first because it's the only one in the front. It's first, so it's in the front. Then we do the other 3 after that. The I is for infraspinatus. The T is for teres minor. And the S is for supraspinatus. So subscapularis is first because it's in the front. Then we got the its. The its are in the back. Its are in the back. Infraspinatus, teres minor, supraspinatus. And do you notice when I wrote out the word sits here, I made that T lowercase? Why did I do that? What is the memory aid that we're trying to remember with a little t right there? You got it? You figure it out? It's the teres minor. That's why we make it a little t. Now, where do you think this muscle is? Infraspinatus. It's going to be below the spine, the scapula. Supraspinatus, above the spine. You can see there's the supraspinatus above the spine, infraspinatus below the spine. The teres minor is the buddy of the infraspinatus. They go together. They're right in the middle there. They go together. They're buddies. Okay? All right. Let's look at these 4. Let's look at these 4. So this is the front view. It's the front view, right? Front view for a rotator cuff. So front means first. Who's the first muscle there? We remember our mnemonic device. And the first one is the subscapularis. The subscapularis. All right, it's under the scapula. It's in the front. It is going to adduct the humerus. So it's going to pull your shoulders inward. It's also going to medially rotate. All right, so get in the anatomical position for me. Palms forward. And then spin so your palms are backwards. That's medial rotation right there. So subscapularis, he's first. He adducts and he medially rotates. Okay. All right, that's 1 done. Let's do the other 3. All right, looking at the posterior hair. First, let's find that spine. Find that spine. There it is right there. We go above the spine to get number 1 in this picture. Number 1 in this picture is the supraspinatus. Okay? The supraspinatus. It's above the spine, all right? It's above the spine, so it's going to kind of pull your arm up. Up and out. Up and out. Well, up and out is abduction. Now, if the supra pulls it up and out, right? Supra is going to abduct. The infra's below the spine. It's opposite, right? So the infra can't abduct. It's going to adduct. Now, the infraspinatus, there's its neighbor right there. Look at that guy. The teres minor. These guys are buddies. They're neighbors. So they're buddies. And what I mean by buddies, I mean they are synergists. Oh my God, I can't write cursive at all. That says synergists. So they're not only going to adduct, they're also going to laterally rotate. Remember the guy in the front? He medially rotated. So the guys in the back are going to laterally rotate. And there's that deltoid right there. Big, beautiful deltoid. All right. If we look at another model, find that trapezius, okay? Find that deltoid. Then you got your two buds right there. You got your infraspinatus and your teres minor. We don't see the supraspinatus because it's covered up by the trap. And we're looking at the back, and we're not going to see the subscapularis here either. Okay, fantastico. We are done with the shoulder. We are on to the elbow. And the elbow is a simple hinge joint. So all it does is flexion and extension. Sagittal plane motions here. So get in anatomical position. Bring your palms to your shoulders. You're flexing your elbow. Bring your palms back down to anatomical position. You're extending. Now, let's meet some muscles that are going to be involved with these two motions. But hey, wait a minute. Which motion was towards the front? Was it flexion or extension? Flexion, yeah, we're going to the front, right? Extension, we're going to the back. So our flexors are going to be in the front. Extensors going to be in the back. All right, we are looking at a lateral view, okay? Got a lateral view right here. Look at that deltoid right there. I'm going to write delt on the deltoid. If you come down on that deltoid, like so, you're going to find a pair of flexor muscles right there. One in the very front and one right behind it. The one in the very front is your biceps muscle, better known as the biceps brachii, the two-headed muscle of the arm. The one deep to it is called the brachialis. All right, the biceps brachii, biceps, two heads, it's got two origins. Coracoid on the scap and the rim of the glenoid fossa of the scap. The insertion is going to come down and be on the radial tuberosity. If we backtrack for a second, can I backtrack for a second here? Can we see that radial tuberosity? It is right in there. Okay. The brachialis is a synergist of the biceps brachii. They're actually a trio of muscles. The biceps brachii, the brachialis, and another one, and another one called the brachioradialis. We're going to meet that one in a moment. Okay. If we look at this front view, biceps brachii right there, brachialis deep to it. If you find a really muscular man or woman, you can see these muscles beautifully. First, let's find that deltoid right there. We got that delt, and we can see how the point of the delt comes right there, and there's the biceps brachii. There it is. There's the brachialis right there. There they are. Fantastic. Now, right here, this one, where that vein is sitting, that's the brachioradialis. We're going to meet that one next. It is on deck for us. All right, in this view, there's that delt. Look at that delt. Point of the deltoid, what's it find for you? Biceps brachii, brachialis. Now, if we go down a little more, if we're on that forearm, on the top of that forearm, the thumb side of that forearm right there, we're going to find that brachioradialis. If you give somebody a thumbs up, and you run your hand on the top of your forearm when you're in a thumbs up position, that's where your your brachioradialis is going to be. And the three of those muscles are going to all be synergists that are elbow flexors. Elbow flexors. Gosh darn it. There we go. All right. If you find the spot where you can feel your pulse on your forearm, right? That's where you can feel a pulse. That's where you would put a stethoscope if you were taking a blood pressure measurement. That's where you got a nice vein right next door to take blood called the median cubital vein in there. And if you find that little hollow, the brachioradialis makes the lateral border to it. So if you put two fingers where you can feel that brachial pulse, and you kind of walk those two fingers laterally, you'll find your brachioradialis right there. So brachioradialis, biceps brachii, brachialis, that trio, that triumvirate, is going to be the flexors of the elbow. All right. We look at some muscular folks here. Biceps brachii, brachialis, brachioradialis right there. On her, we can see that biceps brachii, that brachialis, and there, that right there is that brachioradialis. We see it right over there as well. Awesome. Okay, now we got the back of the arm. And there's only one muscle we're doing in the back of the arm. That is the triceps brachii. It's right here. Triceps, three heads. We're only seeing one of them in the side view here. Bum, bum, bum. So there's one of them right there. So if we look again, biceps brachii, brachialis, one of the three parts of the triceps brachii right there. Remember that point of that deltoid. Beautiful landmark. Can't forget that. Here's that brachioradialis. And I also like to note, if you walk up on it, you hit the division line between the brachialis and the triceps brachii. All right, so the triceps brachii, they're going to originate on the lateral scapula and and also on the diaphysis of the humerus, and insert on the olecranon of the ulna. Okay, fantastic. If we look at this model, let's start with things we know, okay? Start up here, deltoid. We got that, right? Point to the deltoid. What's it find for you? Finds the biceps brachii in the front, brachialis behind it. Here's the brachioradialis down here. Walks us up to the division line between brachialis in the front, triceps brachii in the back. Fantastic. And we see two parts of it here and here. We got to flip this guy around to look at the backside. That's what we need to do. Let's do that. Yeah, there we go. So in this back view, there's that deltoid up top. There's that infraspinatus. There's that teres minor. And right here in the back view, straight down from the deltoid, back view. 1, 2, 3 parts. Triceps brachii. On the muscular lady over here, we can see 1, 2 parts to it. It's hard to see all three. This is called the medial head down here. Even on muscular folks, it's hard to see it. But there are 3 parts to it. And it is going to extend the elbow. Remember, we have the flexors in the front. This is the extensor in the back, the antagonist to those 3. All right. Folks, we are so close to being done. All we got to do is motions of the wrist. So wrist motions are all about these 8 wrist bones, which we know are called the carpals. And we know if you have a lot of small bones with lots of joints, you're capable of a lot of motions, right? We're going to deal with 4 motions, okay? flexion, which is where you bend your wrist inward, like in this picture number 1 here. Extension, which is where you go the opposite direction. Think about flexion as saying, come here to somebody, like waving your hand, like, come here, come here, come here. And extension is going in that like stop position, where you put your palm out. Okay? All right, so those are 2 of my motions. What other motions do I have? I have adduction and abduction. So a pinky side wave is adduction. So moving your wrist pinky side. Then you go to the thumb side. So if you're waving, you're doing adduction and abduction. If you're doing a little wrist wave, little wrist wave, the pinky side motion is adduction. The thumb side motion is abduction. Okay? All right. Let's meet some muscles. Let's meet some muscles. All right. We are looking at the front. We are looking at the front. I know there's a lot going on here, but trust me, it's not that bad. We are looking at the front, okay? Now, when we're looking at the front, what I want you to start with is the ulna. I can see the ulna right here. Do you see that little stretch of whiteness right there? Ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. That's the ulna right there. So if I find the ulna, there's a tendon next to it, and that tendon leads to this muscle right here. This muscle right here, I got a number 1 on it, and I'm outlining it in my light blue color, one of my favorite colors right here. That is the flexor, because it's going to bend the wrist in a flexion motion. Carpi, because carpal wrist, right? Ulnaris, because it's on the ulna side, the pinky side. Now, if I do a hop, skip, and a jump to the other side, so I actually got to jump the muscle in the middle, I get to number 2. And he is the partner, just on the other side. He is the flexor carpi radialis. So he is another flexor of the wrist, but he is on the thumb side. Okay? All right. Now, if I do find my flexor carpi radialis, hey, we've had a muscle that ended in radialis. It's this guy right here. The brachioradialis is right next to the flexor carpi radialis. My radialis muscles go together. All right. The 2 flexors are obviously synergists when they flex the wrist. But hold on. The radialis one, the flexor carpi radialis, also bends the wrist towards the radius, the thumb side. That's our thumb side wave, which is abduction. Whereas the ulnaris is going to bend the wrist. There's the ulnaris right there. It bends the wrist this way. And that is our pinky side wave, which is adduction. So they can be synergists or antagonists. Okay, one last thing we got to know about these guys. We got to know that the flexor carpi radialis originates on the medial epicondyle of the humerus and inserts on the 2nd and 3rd metacarpals. 2nd and 3rd metacarpals. All right. With that, we are done the front side of the wrist, and we got to do the back side. Let's go to it. All right. We're on the back side of the wrist here. Let's orient ourselves. Look up here. Biceps brachii, brachialis, triceps brachii. Remember that dividing line right there between the brachialis and the triceps brachii? Remember that? And then this guy right here, number 4, this is the brachioradialis, which took us up to that dividing line. So there's my brachioradialis. Just on the backside next to him is another one of his radialis friends. This guy is known as the extensor carpi radialis longus, the long extensor of the wrist on the radius side. It is an extensor of the wrist, but because it's on the radial side, thumb side. It does a thumb side wave, which is abduction. Awesome. Guys, we only got 3 more muscles to do on this long lab video. All right. Got a little review here, okay? I can see all 3 of my radialis muscles together here, okay? Brachioradialis in the middle, flexor carpi radialis in the front, extensor carpi radialis longus in the back. And there's my 3 upper arm muscles, my biceps brachii, my brachialis, and my triceps brachii. Beautiful. Okay. Last but not least, look at that ulna right there. You find the ulna, it's game over. You're good. Okay, you find the ulna, you're going to find the 2 ulnaris muscles. In the front, just next to that ulna is the flexor carpi ulnaris. Remember, flexor's in the front. Then in the back, next to that ulna, is the extensor carpi ulnaris. Like its name implies, the extensor carpi ulnaris is going to extend the wrist, but it is also on the ulnar side, so it does a pinky side wave, which means it is an adductor. All right. Sweet. We are doing incredible. We've done so much today. If you've gotten this far through this video, then I am proud of you for sticking with it. Good job. Let's do one more thing. All right. You ever done the Macarena? I never have. Never will. But I know of it, okay? And if you think about it, it is going to, I don't even know what I'm talking about here. There's another set of motions, supination. That's where you have your palm out, like somebody's giving you something, right? Somebody's handing you some money. You take it, okay? Supination. Like somebody's about to give you a high five. You put that hand out like that, right? Supination, holding a bowl of soup in your hand. A nice hot bowl of soup. You are supinated. Flip the palm over, you are pronated. Pronation, so going from palm up to palm down. Palm up to palm down is pronation. And there is a little tiny muscle, this dude right here. That little guy right there is the pronator teres. So here's my brachioradialis number 3. Here's my flexor carpi radialis right there, number 4. And tucked up in between them up there is the pronator teres. He is the muscle that pronates. The muscle that supinates is a muscle called the supinator. But because he is a deep muscle, we don't have to see him. Yay! Folks, people, we are done. That was a long lab video. I am proud of you if you stuck with it. Fantastic. All right, I will see you guys in the last one. Next time it's our final video. I'll see you then, okay? Bye-bye. See ya.